The battle for cryptocurrency regulation changes everything. You better be prepared. Now, over the last week, the battle over the fate of the future of the United States as a global technology leader and the cryptocurrency industry raged between both sides of the aisle. That was more like a soap opera than how you would expect US politics to work. And while the fight went into overtime and eventually was decided, at least for now, by one person over a petty, non-related reason, what happened really has profound impacts on the future of the United States and the cryptocurrency and DeFi space. So in this video, I'm going to update you on exactly what happened, why cryptocurrency was even dragged into this infrastructure bill in the first place, how the battle went, who the heroes and the villains were, what this means for us today, and what the near future holds. Now, if you're into crypto or not, either way, this is information that you need to know right now. So let's go. All right, we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet, get you the information that you need. If you're new to the channel, my name is Mark Moss, and I make these videos to change the way you think about money and get you better prepared so you have actionable information to change your life, your family, etc. All right, now let's get into this real quick. A battle raged on, and this has profound implications for the future of the United States as a technology leader and for the fate of cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, DeFi, etc. The first thing to understand is this was a lot of political theater. Grab your popcorn and watch. Like I said, the intro is kind of a little bit more of like a soap opera than US politics, but politics is kind of like a soap opera these days. The high level things you need to know is that there was a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that was basically rammed through. Now, I did a previous video on this where I dug deep into that. I'll have the editor link it up here if you want to go back and watch that first. But basically, there's an infrastructure bill. So infrastructure, roads, bridges, schools, things like that. But what happens is when they're trying to pass something like this, it was 2,700 pages, as you can see right here, 2,700 pages, and they try to get it through in a couple of days. Now, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm a pretty good reader. I've read thousands of books. 2,700 pages is a tall order to try to read and understand. And so what they do is they sneak different provisions through. So things that they know they wouldn't be able to get through on their own, they'll put them through in something like this. And that is what has set up this battleground that we're going to talk about real quick. All right. Like I said, go back and watch the other video if you want to learn more about all of that. But first off, we have to understand is in an infrastructure bill, like I said, roads, bridges, schools, etc. Why was cryptocurrency even inserted into the bill in the first place? How does it even fit into infrastructure? And the answer is doesn't. But what happens is, of course, as I said, right, it's $1.2 trillion they want to spend, which increases the spending. And so the way that they do it right now is that they want to have a way to pay for this. So they want to add pay for provisions in there. And so what happened is they're like, okay, well, you want to spend $1.2 trillion. How are we going to pay for it? And the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, came up with a way that they thought that they could get $28 billion of the money they needed from the cryptocurrency space. And so that's why I got thrown in there, needed to pay for it. Let's go ahead and throw that in. And they figured they could get 28 billion if they could tighten up all the holes. So they said that, the way the cryptocurrency industry works, and there's all this DeFi going on and all these exchanges and people are trading currencies back and forth, and those are all taxable events. And if we would collect all the information and tighten up the holes, we'd be able to collect more tax, then that tax would equal $28 billion. Now, as I already went through in the previous video, it won't. It's impossible to do this. A lot of this is software driven. Software can't collect 1099s or issue 1099s on people. And really what it does is just forces technology to move offshore or not work at all. And so instead of collecting 28 billion, they probably collect zero. And so that's how it looks. Now, Janet Yellen, I have her picture up here because she was really the one that's been pushing this. Now, she's gotten paid hundreds of millions of dollars from banks, not from her job working for the government, from banks. And of course, they are the ones that benefit the most from this. Now, the big issue that was fought over right here is really this, the definition of a broker. And so a broker, you typically think of like a stock brokerage account. So somewhere that I go to buy and sell stocks. That could be a real estate broker, someone that helps me facilitate a transaction to buy and sell real estate. And what they were saying is this definition of a broker in this bill was just too wide. And basically anybody, a software coder who writes a piece of software that then somehow uses a smart contract or a way to transfer or initiate a transfer is all of a sudden a broker. So you write code and now you're a broker? Doesn't make sense. So it was way too wide of a net, which basically captured everybody. And like I said, this is a brand new technology. This is a technological revolution. It's not an improvement over technology we have. This is a change in the way that humanity works, and the software can't do it. It just can't do it. And so it has unintended consequences. We can see here directly from some of the attorneys talking about this, that they said it's a threat to the industry's existence in the US. And so, like I said, it's impossible for the software to comply. So therefore, it'd be impossible for me to write code for a software that doesn't comply. So what are my options? Well, I just move out of the US and I do it somewhere else, or I don't do it at all. So it threats to the industry's existence in the US. Now, I broke down in the other video how the internet was really responsible for pushing the United States into the leadership role of the tech space. So of course, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, Google, etc. are all in the United States, and the United States had to actually save the crypto or the internet industry. It was almost shut down, and they passed laws to allow it to grow, and that's really a tribute to pretty much most of the growth that the United States has had. If we push out the next technological revolution offshore, what will that do to the future of the United States for your kids, your grandkids, etc.? It's something to think about. They said that the sweep, it would sweep in technology players that could not conceivably comply. It's just software. It can't grab the information, it can't issue the information, it can't conceivably comply, such as software developers and so-called miners. So you plug in a computer to the network, it's helping process transactions. It's processing transactions. How is it going to collect the information from people and send it back out? It can't do that. It also threatened the development of decentralized finance, or DeFi. So again, DeFi is a bunch of protocols, software that does things that allows people to stake and earn and do loans, things like that. So that is basically the issue. Now, the good and the bad out of this. The good is that we have a new power player in town. And so the cryptocurrency industry space, while small at this point, is growing rapidly, and it has some very, very, very early true believers that really believe in this movement, that believe it's good for humanity. And so because of that, it woke up the cryptocurrency space and mobilized the masses. In the previous video, I gave information of how you could do phone calls, emails, how you could contact representatives. And of course, it wasn't just my videos, but the whole industry mobilized and put massive pressure onto their local government, and it made a big difference. There was so much support that it woke Washington up, and now it is on the map. We had lots of senators come to bat specifically for cryptocurrency. So let's break that part down. Now, there were some heroes in this, and the villains aren't really so much what you might consider villains. But let's talk about the heroes first. So the big one, put your own political biases aside. If you like cryptocurrency, Ted Cruz came out as the big hero. He went before the committee and basically said, this entire crypto piece needs to be struck out. So what happened is the battle raged on over amendments. How could we change it? How could we soften it up? How could we make it not as bad? How could we define the word broker a little bit better? He said, just get rid of it altogether. He said, if there was even 5 people in the Senate that could explain to me how the cryptocurrency and DeFi space worked, then maybe we could have a discussion. But he said there's not. And so it needs to be completely struck out. He said pushing this through in 3 days in a 2,700-page bill is absolutely ridiculous, which it is. Something as big as this that has as much impact on the United States, the future of technology, the finance, etc., needs serious and careful deliberation. We should have experts on both sides talk. We need to think this through. We need to plan, discuss it, not try and shove it through in 3 days. He said we need to completely strike it out altogether, which is good. He said, I love this right here. He said, let's not be the number one economic developer for the Communist Party of China. Let's not help China any more than we already have, which of course we have immensely. And let's not help them any more by sending cryptocurrencies overseas to our competitors, because we've made it impossible for them to succeed here. Like I said, they're just going to go offshore. We don't want that to happen, and that's basically what he said. So he's the big hero. Also, Democrat Senate Finance Committee Ron Wyden, he was instrumental in writing the amendments. He really went to bat. He's a big proponent of technology, allowing it to grow. Senate Banking Committee Pat Toomey, so a Democrat and a Republican. forget sides of the aisle, man. If you're focused on that, you're gonna lose. Both sides happened here. Republican Cynthia Loomis has been massive support, and of course I mentioned these two before, Blockchain Association and Coin Center. If you're not already following them and supporting them and you care about this kind of stuff, you absolutely should. Now let's talk about the villains. All right, so the villains. So the first thing is this guy. He looks like a nice guy, right? He's Senator Richard Shelby. He's a Republican from Alabama. And basically what happened is, in order to get the amendments through, which was going to better define the word broker, soften up the language, in order to get that amendment through, it held up the vote. It went all the way through the weekend of arguments and deliberations, went all the way to Monday, and basically to get the amendments through, it needed a unanimous vote. And it got the unanimous vote, except for this guy, except for one guy right here. And basically, and then Mark Warner, Democrat from Virginia, and Rob Portman, a Republican from Ohio. See, they're on both sides of the aisle. Don't get caught up in this politics side. And then Kristen Sinema, from Democrat from Arizona. They authored another amendment that actually made it worse. So we had the heroes that made an amendment that made it softer. Of course, Ted Cruz said get rid of it. These people wrote another amendment that made it even worse. They're the villains. Of course, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is the villain. She was the one really pushing this. Now, I want to go back to Richard Shelby for a second. So basically, they needed a unanimous vote to push through one of the two amendments that were put forth. They got the votes except for Richard Shelby, who wanted $50 billion for the military, because we need more military spending right now. And I don't know what that has to do with the infrastructure, but he wanted $50 billion for the military, which he didn't get. And because he was angry, he didn't get his way like a little kid, then he wasn't going to vote for somebody else to get their way. And that's basically how it went down. Remember these names. There's 19 Republicans, so it was unanimous on the Democrat side. 19 Republicans also went for this. I am putting their names in the description of this video. I would read their names just so you know who they are. Remember it in the next midterm cycle coming up next year. A lot of people in the crypto space are saying they are going to be a single issue voter next year, and that means they will vote with the people that sided with the cryptocurrency, indeed, which sided with freedom, which sided for pro-business, which sided for development, progress, etc. Now, there's good and bad to take out of this. All right, so there's always two sides here. The bad is that the changes they put in place are pretty bad. They are very restrictive. They didn't clearly define what the broker is. They've left it too vague. Now, they have said that, look, that term is not supposed to include the miners and things like that. So they've said that verbally. However, the way it's written is vague. All right, so that's bad. It won't go into place until 2023, so we still have a couple years to fight it, to amend it, to repeal it, etc. So the fight's definitely not over. The good is that this kind of gives government acceptance. And so as restrictive as it is, and like I said, we'll probably soften it up, and they've already said verbally that it doesn't include that. The good is that this shows the government now recognizes it as a serious technology, as a serious asset class. They have allowed to continue to let it grow and operate within the confines they've put into it. They've also realized how big the machine is, how big the crypto industry overall is as a lobbying group to push this and want this. And so that is the good. I think it's a net win. Like I said, we'll go back and we'll change some of this language and make it softer. And we can see that the government is done looking to end it. If they wanted to end it, they could have done a lot more draconian things. Instead, they said, hey, let's just get some tax out of it and let's just let it keep going. And so I would take that away as a good thing. All right, now what's next? Like I said, this doesn't go into place till 2023. Lots of time to repeal this. We already have, now it has to go to the House, so we already have House Democrats. They're already calling to put the amendments into place. So like I said, it's not over at all. And so they're already calling for these amendments to put into place. And so I think that's going to happen. I feel pretty good about that. I do not think the US is going to kill cryptocurrency. I think we're going to be safe, but don't sleep on it. Now is not the time to let up. Continue to let your voice be heard. Continue to call those senators, send emails, etc. And if the $1.2 trillion wasn't enough, let's go ahead and crank up the printing presses and get another $3.5 trillion. We can see the Senate approves the framework of this $3.5 trillion budget. So let's go ahead and print more money for infrastructure, more inflation, which means higher asset prices. We'll talk about that in other videos. But that's what we got going on right now. Let me know what you think down below. Do you think it's worth voicing your opinion to the politicians? I'm mixed on that. I don't have a lot of faith in the political process, but at the same time, am I going to sit back and do nothing? If I'm going to go out, I want to go out swinging, and I might as well try the best I can. But what do you think? Leave me a comment and let me know down below. Of course, as always, give me a thumbs up on this video if you like it. And if you don't like the video, go ahead, give me a thumbs down. That's okay. But at least leave me a comment and tell me why. All right, that's what I got for you today. To your success, I'm out.